My heart pulsed with furious terror, and my eyes finally opened. My screams were muffled by the glass canopy of the immersion pod, and I hurriedly squeezed the command to let me out. In full panic, I exited, removing feedback catheters and other equipment from me as the glass slowly opened. My screams echoed through the station's empty halls as I frantically clambered out of the pod and up against a wall, my teeth chattering from terror. I continued to scream for help that never came, yelling for subordinates long since gone. This is the same scene that has played out nearly every day for the last 2 years. Every pod contains a new nightmare. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw a new horror, experiencing a new heartbreak. Each time I got out, I screamed my antenna off and desperately clawed away at the glass to escape my confinement. And every single time, it always ends the same. I get out, cower in a corner, and continue to scream, while the images of everything that happened flashed in my mind. Each time it ended the same. No help comes. My screams were heard by only the empty walls of the station. I would always shake my head and return to my senses when the rush was over, and my brain realized it was no longer in danger. I sat in the corner, shivering a bit. I could still feel their teeth gnawing at my flesh. I held my hands up, my 3 digits in front of me, and the image of a set of 2 arms with 5 meaty digits flashes before my eyes. My recovery time is stifled by the familiar sound of metallic squeaking, followed by a familiar whir. I scoffed at it and stood up, my 4 foot pads not used to the cold linoleum flooring, and I shivered a bit. I looked up at the strange newcomer and approached it. A strange robot or droid built into the station. It was a spherical orb, mounted onto an extendable robotic arm, with a single large eye mounted in the middle of its frame. I scoffed at it again, as the tiny motors inside its frame forced its various plates of armor and covering to form a facial expression, one which I could only consider to be a concerned smile. "Go away, Orby thing." That was the nickname for it. "I don't need to deal with you right now." I shoved it aside and retreated down the corridor. I could traverse this path in my sleep, having done it nearly every day for the last 2 years. I walked down 2 corridors, left, right, down a set of stairs and to the end towards the hangar bay. There I stood quietly, staring intently at the entrance to the transport corvette my fellows left behind for me so many months ago. Every time I come here, it would always end the same way. I would stare at it for an hour, figure that there was still too much to do, too much at stake, like I was missing something. And every time I did, I would shake my head, return to the interior and carry on, writing in my journal as I recalled every moment from what I just suffered. I went up to the control room and sat at the console. I began typing. Ignoring the words of Orby thing appearing beside me, I ignored it and started my report. Researchers log date 11899. Research facility codename Echoes of Man. Operative Tharax Kanar of Brood Theta Chi reporting. It seems all the pods in Deck S, Section Z, all contain simulations of a thing the creators of this facility refer to as a zombie apocalypse, and thus far, this one was the worst. I pressed a series of buttons and played a video on the holoscreen in front of me, complementing my log data. It played a recording of my latest sojourn, seemingly from the eyes of the very individual who experienced it. Pod contains an interactive recording, seemingly a creation of the user, of his final moments, as it appears as though it comes directly from his perspective. I believe it to be portable recording equipment of some kind, or some variant of bionics at least. Recording shows the result of what is known as a zombie outbreak. I let the recording play, and allow the desperate screams of a man about to die once again echo through my ears. The video started with him desperately yelling a series of "No! God, no!" before bolstering himself and holding a rifle. A series of loud bangs can be heard as a horde of infected individuals burst through the door to be met with gunfire. I paused the recording. The context of this recording I can at least attempt to make sense of was that this individual was caught off guard and cornered by a horde of zombies, defined in human media and historical archive as mindless shambling corpses whose only desire is to feed. In this case, these zombies were brought about due to a highly contagious strain of virus, call sign Nox. I let the recording play. It showed a legion of dozens of half-rotting corpses breaking each other's bones in order to get to the individual, just crawling over the bodies as they are gunned down. The weapon jammed, forcing the man into a blind panic as more of the undead encroached on him. I ended the recording there. For the sake of sanity, the remainder will be available on the transcript archive. For purposes of the record, however, the subject is set upon, and torn limb from limb as he is eaten alive. I sit back in my seat and take a deep breath. Orby thing watching me closely. His little faceplates contorting into what he thinks may calm me down. Once again, the purpose and reason behind this facility and its contents is yet to be determined. The immersion pods, as we know them, contain short or long-term recordings of a subject's memories or experiences, through means as yet undetermined. These experiences range from what you just saw all the way to death-defying stunts, high-speed racing events, horrible crashes, and acts of unimaginable cruelty. Why is as yet unknown. Log ends. Operative Frax Canar or Brood Theta Chi. I sat there, unmoving for a few minutes, just trying to calm down. I looked to my right and Orby thing was there, but he had changed. But Orby thing, wasn't your eye blue earlier? Why is it purple? I asked. It has been interesting observing your activities, a mechanical voice suddenly spoke. I screamed and jumped out of my seat. Ah, what? He approached me by moving the little robotic arm toward me. I said, it has been interesting observing your activities. Was I not clear before? It said again, contorting its little faceplates to taunt me. 2 damn years you haven't said a word and now you speak. What are you? I stood up and pointed at him, demanding answers. There is no need to point. That is rude. Please stop that, he said to me, his faceplates moving to an expression of disgust. My name is Wheatley. I am this station's archive AI. Impossible. Is this a prank? Artificial intelligence is impossible. We proved it so many times, I yelled, looking around for a hidden control panel. For you, yes. You use crystal lattice matrices in your electronics, mostly made of semi- or non-conductive materials. While impressive, it is highly constraining for any kind of thought pattern. Your most complex computer is the equivalent of a 20th century gaming computer. It's quite impressive how far you came with it. His face contorted into what could only be construed as a mocking smirk. I do not know if I should feel grateful or insulted, I said and sat on my seat, unable to consider any further course of action. I apologize, it was not meant to be an insult. You simply have a difference in materials that limits your electronics' ability to think. To actually be here with that limitation is by itself an impressive feat. But as always... A holoscreen appeared in front of me, a technical blueprint. Improvements can always be made. I took one look at it, and immediately copied it to my system archive and sent it for a relay back to home. I'm not an engineer by any means, but even a simpleton could see the value in that blueprint. I stared at him, aware what I did was just plain rude, but I had no idea how to proceed. I'm sorry, I don't... A predictable response. It's okay, I'm used to it. He pulled up the holoscreen and showed me a compilation of that same event, happening 100 times. Each time, a different species was at the controls, and a different blueprint was displayed. Okay, that's enough, I yelled out, and started my recording software, and a live link to home to be sure. Let's do this properly. Please. Wheatley? Yes, that was it. Wheatley, would you please explain to me what the actual fuck is going on? His armor plating closed in all at once in a blink. The expression was clearly very shocked, very surprised. Oh my, congratulations. You are the first one to use the word please since this experiment was started. He let out a mechanical chuckle and I just sighed in response. Okay, thanks. So, what are you then? Oh yes, forgive my indulgence. I am Management AI Variant Wheatley. I am the operator of this research facility. I am a personality core, a quantum computational matrix unit built to operate the systems over long terms. Long terms as in several thousand eons. Pleasure to meet you. He smiled at me. Quantum computation? That exists? I bent over the desk, cradling my head in preparation for a rapidly approaching migraine. Ow, my head. I think I should be used to this now, really. Your electronics capabilities are so, forgive the term, weak, that such things are pipe dreams. No, quantum computation is, in fact, little more than the next step. Truth be told, my quality of computational system was outdated 2 centuries after I was pumped out of the factory. But we shall talk about that later, shall we? His faceplate contorted into a smile. Yes, I think that's good. What is this place and what was it for? I asked, paying full attention. This facility is one of very, very many, an exact copy of 200 or so such units. My creatures, humans, built us specifically to teach the human experience, good and bad, to the wider universe. One facility sent to the 4 corners of each galaxy we can find. Do note, though, this wasn't a civilization effort. It was the craft of one man. He was a bit eccentric, he said with a mechanical chuckle. Wait, one man built this? I said, shocked. Let me elaborate. This was less a scientific endeavour, and more an eccentric art project that nobody seemed to object to. It had one premise: expose aliens, alternate civilizations, and otherworldly entities to the human experience, both real and simulated, and see how they respond to it. Well, it started out like that and developed into something a bit more meaningful, he replied. Oh, okay, I replied, cradling my aching head. So I have spent the last 2 years of my life subjecting myself to unimaginable torture for an art project? Made by some crazy guy? I asked, my tone of voice full of defeat. Well, yes, you consider it torture, but you haven't looked at things, have you? You've been too traumatized to notice the bigger picture. You haven't, shall we say, learned the lesson. It's quite funny, really. It seems to be a common occurrence. He twisted his faceplates into a mocking smirk. Elaborate, please. This facility is meant not only to teach a lesson, but to be rewarded for that lesson. These pods contain simulations or actual recovered memories of real-life events. So let me make this simpler for you, he said, as he drew a selection of videos on the holoscreen. Please do, I asked, paying full attention. Imagine an emperor who enslaves others. Enslave him, strip him of his status and put him in chains. Show him what it means to be a slave. Show him the abuse. Show him the exhaustion. Show him the torture. Make him feel the suffering he inflicts on others. Ask yourself, do you think he would still be in favor of slavery after that? The images flashing before me showed a recording from the eyes of the person suffering it, being whipped, being beaten, being used, being forced to work endless hours digging, fighting, burning. Now go into something more direct, an attorney with a habit of falsely accusing others of crimes, and prosecuting others on those terms. Put him in cuffs, put him behind bars with a rigged trial, silence him, do to him what he did to others, let him understand what happens. Do you think he would be in favor of continuing his actions? The images passed over a criminal trial of some kind, from the perspective of a victim of a crooked lawyer, who is held on trial for false pretenses, has his entire family ruined, and is put in prison. Or perhaps something more large-scale. Do you think any politician or any form of leadership would start a war if he was the one who had to fight in it? The videos show multiple perspectives of an active war, fought through the eyes of the soldiers who died in it. The first one in some kind of trench line, as a gas attack hits. The second one in some kind of metal war machine that guns down dozens of men before being hit by artillery. The last one showing a ground perspective of a bombing campaign. This entire facility is dedicated entirely to the concept of to put oneself in someone else's shoes. Of course, when we ran out of lessons to teach, well, you figured that out yourself. He chuckled as he played the recording of the zombie apocalypse I suffered through earlier. Okay, I think I get it, but what puzzles are you talking about exactly? You said something about puzzles. Oh, that. That's hilarious. Nobody figures it out until way beyond the pale. Too little too late as it goes. I digress. Sorry. Within some memories, some simulations and some systems, the creators crafted custom segments hidden in the background. You have to be very observant to notice them, but, well, it's there. See for yourself. He smiled again and played a certain segment of the zombie apocalypse recording, then paused it on a specific frame. There, sitting on the wall in front of me, was the blueprint I just sent to home that this robot just casually gave me. "Oh, come on!" I yelled out in frustration, and slammed my head on the console to a gale of mocking mechanical laughter. Oh god, I love that bit. When they realized the answer was literally staring them in the face, and they missed it. Never gets old. He continued to mock me for a little bit longer. Okay, I get it. You can stop being such a Gandus, you know. Ah, yes, Gandus. Your specific word for dick. That's still funny. Oh, so many times that has happened. Your species is the 10th that has visited and occupied this facility. They all use that word. Anyway, back to work. He was barely able to contain his laughter. Okay, stop. One thing. Before we continue, I must ask. So, others have been here? I asked. Yes, many others. And what happened to them? I asked again, curious. Attempts at destruction that were ultimately fruitless. Abandonment of all projects and quarantining of the star system under dubious pretenses. Full-on psychopathy, as they can't process the images they witness. All sorts of stuff. You are the first one to survive past the first month. Congratulations, he replied in kind, with more mockery in his tone. I see. Let me think. What are the blueprints? What exactly is the reward for solving this puzzle thing? I asked. Technical schematics, manufacturing specifications, and operating blueprints for various pieces of technology we acquired through the time we were around. Dyson spheres, Matryoshka brains, black hole inhibitors, wormhole units, all sorts of things, hidden deep in the code, some deeper than others, some as plain as day. I like to think of it as, what's a suitable analogy? A helping hand at the tip of a middle finger, so to speak. He replied calmly, seemingly smugly. I get it now. That's just evil. That's just plain evil. Hiding the secrets to the universe within the bounds of immersive memories of horrifying circumstances. That is evil. Meh, it's more crazy than evil. Let's just say when we finally said goodbye, We did so with both middle fingers raised. The universe was not exactly friendly when humanity was around, he said with a frown. Why is that? I asked, actually curious for once. The universe runs on a cycle. Civilization rises, lives, exists, falls. Great filter and all that. The last time the universe ran its cycle, humanity were the only ones to actually survive their filters. We entered the universal cycle late, and by the time we expanded from our home galaxy, this one, we realized we had come too late, and we were alone. The universe was empty. Galaxy by galaxy, system by system, we were alone. It was very disappointing. His tone of voice was odd, as if he didn't know how to be depressed. So, you left these stations behind because... Don't tell me. Let me guess. I said, and thought for a bit. You left them behind to teach the universe a lesson, and then give them a chance to go farther than you did. Well, half correct. To challenge you to rise above yourself, then allow you to earn your place alongside us after ascension. Or at least something like that. He replied with a silly chuckle. Ah! I looked back at my console. Operative Farax Kanar of Brood Theta Chi reporting. True purpose of the facility has been determined. Priority of further research is now regarded as absolute. Send, I said. Heard a beep, then smiled. And thus it truly begins, he said. What? Either a great victory for sentient life, or the catastrophic rise of a demon empire to rival even the worst we have seen or made ourselves. All I can say is, one way or another, at least we tried, he said. His eye turning back to blue, then wandered away. Before he did, he opened a media file and played it. It was titled, How to Royally Fuck Up the Universe, Failing to Learn from One's Mistakes.